Hey again, MangaMatt for the January manga update. I didn't want anybody thinking because now I'm doing manga reviews again that I'd be doing less updates, but here we go. It might be a little later. So, get started with January. What we got? First up, some backlog reading. These are a couple series that I never seem to get around to until I remember, oh, I forgot. Those are still coming out. First up is Case Closed, volumes 52 and 53, which, I like that. I think started around, like, in the 40s where they have, like, this sort of ongoing little thing with Conan on the side doing something with the net. I always like when they put some kind of little running art going along the spine so that you have something a little extra to see on the shelf when they're sitting there. But nothing really stood out in this volume. I didn't really care much for volume 52 because the first part was this. It wasn't really a murder mystery, but it was it was kind of like they were framing somebody, which is, again, I always like it when they can mix it up and not make it a murder mystery every time. Pretty interesting that Star Wars is coming out again soon, and the first story of this volume happens to take place under the backdrop of the kids going to a new Star Wars series. In this, which for them it's called Star Blade, but it's the sixth episode, the finale, which I thought was kind of neat, and even more coincidence because, of course, these volumes come out in English way behind what they're being printed in Japan. In Japan, I think they're easily at like 20 volumes ahead, but of course it's Conan, it's Detective Conan, so I think I hardly doubt that anyone besides me and a handful of other people are still following, which again baffles why this series has somehow escaped cancellation. I guess they found that happy medium of how many people buy it and they can produce just enough to stay in the black. But regardless, after that one was another kind of whodunit setup framing device, this time following a police sting operation where they replace the bride and groom at a wedding because of the suspicion that someone is going to show up at the wedding to murder the bride. But that was also kind of lukewarm. Probably my least favorite here was this story where a man murders his an author murders his ghostwriter, and the setup is that he's murdered him, and of course he did it, but you don't know how he's getting away with it, or kind of the more details about what's going on, what's going through his mind, and how he's setting up the perfect murder. And all you really know is that the clues follow everything in his house. He collects toys and books and stuff. Everything in the house has been flipped upside down, and he's really protective about anybody touching the cat while he's there, going to, of course, look in on his dead associate. Brought his cat with him. All you know is kind of those details, but in any case, I thought that the way he was going to get away with it was very incidental. Like he's setting everything up for how he would set up his alibi, but it felt like the alibi was already very weak to begin with, and then also the lengths he was going to try and reinforce his alibi felt like it didn't feel like ironclad. It just felt like, he's doing this thing, and it's hard for me to explain without giving away the mystery. But regardless, it felt like a kind of flat note for me. Then I guess the mysteries in this one were kind of I was more interested, though, that of course he always highlights a mystery a character from a mystery series in the back here, and most of the time he references mystery characters from Japanese stories and series. But here, one of the few times he references Robert T. Ironside from the TV series Ironside by the same name that ran for about 10 years, which featured the guy from Perry Mason who plays a paraplegic former police officer now turned detective who solves crimes while being bound in a wheelchair. I thought that was kind of interesting. He brought that up. But then Volume 53 got a little bit better. I liked a lot of the mysteries in this one, especially the first one of this volume, which features the Kaito Kid, the sort of gentleman thief that comes up now and again in Detective Conan. That story was very good, and then the middle there was kind of one of those little Junior Detective League stories, and then the next mystery. There's sort of this weird thing going on in the series now where there's this new character that's kind of popped up with Conan, who his name is what's his name? Oh, Isuke Hondo. Isuke Hondo. He's this little. He's kind of in the same age as Rachel, and he's also a bumbling idiot. But at the same time, he seems to always bumble his way into very coincidentally doing something that helps everyone out when they're trying to solve a mystery, which of course has Conan on edge because he's aware that he's doing all this, and Conan thinks this is a little too lucky for a regular person to just constantly stumble his way into having like the right photo of the right scene to piece a mystery together, and Conan thinks that Isuke might be involved in something else with the mystery. And then it ends with the first chapter of the next mystery. Really drug that one out. And alright, let's pick up the pace, I guess. Toriko, volumes 24 and 25. It seems like I'm stuck in my ways with always picking up Toriko in 2-volume bursts. But regardless, it does work out for this series. Mostly that the first part being sort of a falling out from the events of the last volume of Toriko, where of course all of the 4 kings just barely survive, saving everyone from the 4 beast monster, and now Komatsu has because he helped save everyone in the city, his chef rank has moved up to 88th place, which means that since he's in the top 100, he's now eligible for this special cooking fest, which is this big deal kind of event in the gourmet world where all the top 100 chefs all participate in this grueling kind of tournament system where it's a combination of testing your physical prowess with your ability to cook, and you also get a great sort of name drop of just a plethora of different cooks that all show up. A couple of them have been in previous series, like I think what's his name, Life Bearer from the Gourmet Casino is there. Also, Granny Chio, I think, is there from her other showing up. But in any case, I like this one just because it's got a lot of great action and also the one guy here, Brunch, who's this Tengu demon kind of creature that for some reason he needs like batteries or something. But anyway, he's just another kind of bolsterous jerk character that Komatsu, of course, because Komatsu he's so genuine about everything. No one can be mad at him no one can just look at Komatsu. He just melts everyone's hearts because Komatsu is just the biggest lug. Just wants everybody to get along, and his personality, I guess, is just so infectious. And then following that, though, the cooking tournament gets preempted by the Gourmet Corps led by Starjun, who shows up and just decides to kidnap all of these cooks because, of course, the Gourmet Corps were already kidnapping cooks to join their leagues, and something like this where you have 100 of the greatest cooks in the world all in one spot, he can't pass that up, and you get just an invasion of GT robots, all of Starjun's right-hand men. They all pair up and face off against Toriko and the rest of them, and you get to really see how, not only what Toriko and them have been doing since they've been powering up over the last few series, but also get a little sneak peek of what Starjun and his men can do now, because a few of them have shown up, but they haven't really done a full-fledged fight. Really love it. Really, every time I read Toriko, I like it more, and they do a good job with pacing and making everything easy to follow in the series. Also, I forgot there were a couple of neat little extras in the back here, with volume 53 of Case Closed. I forgot actually has a little synopsis in the back for the first 10 Case Closed movies, which of course is whenever this came out originally there were only 10, but which only 6 of them came out in America dubbed from Funimation. But if you're interested in what the other Case Closed movies were like, or if you didn't get a chance to check out those first few Case Closed movies, there's a great little synopsis there in the back, which I highly recommend. The Case Closed movies are all really well done, and even some of them fit into directly the canon of the series and actually shine some light on some otherwise left ambiguous details. Like, I know the second Case Closed movie talks about what led to Richard getting kicked off the police force, which they, even now in the manga I'm reading, they've never actually said what. So by all accounts, that movie is in direct canon with that description. But in the back of Toriko 24 here, you actually get a nice, very in-depth sort of interview talking to both Toriko mangaka Mitsutoshi Shimabukuro and also Masashi Kishimoto, creator of Naruto, talking about just starting out manga writing, also their views on how they write and what's important to them when they write their series. And it's just a really great sort of look into this just sort of what if you were wanting to know more about sort of the creators and what kind of thought process they go into with making their series or anything. Those are great for that too. Then let's see. I guess Jaco, the Galactic Patrolman. You always Toriyama is always gonna live in the limelight of Dragon Ball as being sort of his magnum opus, like the best thing he's ever gonna do. But he always gives his A game. It's not like with it's not like he did, like Dragon Ball is the only good thing he's done and everything else has just been like bleh. All of his stuff is excellent. It's just that the other stuff he's done are just much shorter. Jaco, Galactic Patrolman is no exception. It just features this little guy Jaco, and he goes to Earth to help him out. He's trying to do good and deal out justice, and he he kind of crash lands there, and he needs this old man to actually go in and try and help him repair the spaceship, and along the way he just gets in all these kind of wacky adventures. It's kind of odd that you would think that that something this short couldn't have that much story, or that the comedy would ever get in the way and become too much and just sort of mangle the serious tone of it. But Toriyama he has that gift of knowing the right time to make things silly and the right time to be more serious, and interestingly, he only planned this to be 12 chapters to run exactly 1 year in Jump, and he pulled it off excellently. It never felt like it was cut too short. It's just a really great extra little story for those that just love Dragon Ball and all the Toriyama stuff. And next up, a couple of new series I'm getting now. Ajin, the Demi-Human. This is volumes 1 and 2, which follows this high schooler K, who finds out one day that he is what's referred to as a Demi-Human. These are apparently people who they can't die. Anytime they suffer a fatal accident, they just sort of regenerate and they come back alive again. And they've only been discovered, I think, like 10 or 12 years ago, and there's maybe less than 10 reported Demi-Humans in the world, 2 of which are in Japan. And of course, the only way you can tell if someone's a Demi-Human is if they survive an otherwise fatal accident or death or something that would normally kill them. If they survive that, they are a Demi-Human. There's no other tests or anything to try and determine if someone is or isn't, which again creates all these urban myths of like Demi-Humans eat children, Demi-Humans do this and that. But in any case, it's not really good if you're a Demi-Human, because then the government basically comes in and they take you away for testing to try and figure out what makes you tick. And K, of course, finds out he's a Demi-Human, and then he's immediately like Japan's most wanted man. Everybody everywhere is just trying to hunt him down, and eventually he kind of comes across this sort of underground group of people who are all, or at least some of them are Demi-Human, but are living in hiding because they know that it doesn't really work out for you to be out in the open. And then you also find out that Demi-Humans do also possess a extra ability, which is this sort of black ghost that they can project from themselves that only other Demi-Humans apparently can see, and also they're virtually unkillable, these ghost things. When they project them, nothing can hurt them or stop them. And so there's a lot of things. They haven't really gone into kind of meatier details yet. Right now, a lot of stuff has just been sort of being thrown around, but overall, it's got a great suspense and very creepy atmosphere, and I'm really digging it a lot. Then this one, a few more volumes I got of this is 7 Deadly Sins, which is a sword and sorcery fantasy manga series focusing on Princess, what's her name? Princess Elizabeth, who has decided that her kingdom has become too corrupt by these holy knights that have sort of cemented themselves in the hierarchy rulings of her kingdom, and she wants them overthrown. They're not out for anything except their own personal gain, and so she decides to find these seven warriors who previously were the strongest people in the world, and who also previously were employed by her kingdom, or a group of kingdoms, to sort of be the law enforcement. But then something happened, and they were accused of committing atrocities, and all 7 of them were then branded as wanted criminals. Some of them were killed, others went into hiding, others were captured, and these were known as the 7 deadly sins. And Elizabeth, at the beginning of the series, manages to find the first one, Melodius, who is the dragon sin of wrath, and then it goes from there for her and Melodius to hunt down the other 6 deadly sins to try and get a force together that can overthrow the corrupted rule of the Holy Knights that are currently in power. So far, like, the first 6 have been really fantastic. I also like this little ongoing spine art they've got here. I'm always a fan of that. A great diverse cast they've got, especially Diane featured in the middle. I like that she's a giant, and also that she's very self-conscious and a little bit and she's also kind of like she's very emotional at times, and I think that's a really great element for her character. Melodius, he's kind of, I don't really like that he's sort of that manga character like Rurouni Kenshin or Vash the Stampede, where he's this kind of happy-go-lucky character that also has the dark past and blah blah blah. That feels like that's kind of been there and done that before. But in any case, he's Melodius. He's at least got enough personality to sort of stand out. He's also a unapologetic pervert, and he also is kind of an idiot. So that also helps to sort of flesh out his character more. I also like the art style in here, which very rarely folk relies on screen tone. Like a lot of the times when an artist would normally just do screen tone to make shading, he actually goes in and just does kind of a pencil shading to make the same effect, which looks a lot nicer in my opinion when you can do pencil shading like that. And then also even stuff like for armor, and a lot of the armor designs are really great. Like right here with that sort of cross hatching, which you don't really see a lot, and a lot of artists kind of shy away from nowadays. The artwork also reminds me a lot of, in the face of Naoki Urasawa. There's just this sort of soft sort of design in the faces that also lends it to be more expressive when it wants to be. I really like it a lot. It's got the that sort of talented and refined underground feel, like with Miyazaki's Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, the way it's drawn in that fantasy way. And then also you have the facial drawing figure designs from with Naoki Urasawa. So I see this blending of these two great artists in this one guy, and it makes me want to see even more from his works. Then speaking of Naoki Urasawa, we have Master Keaton, which is actually the stories by Hokusei Katsushika and Takashi Nagasaki, but Naoki Urasawa drew the series. Again, I'm not 100% sure who contributed what or how much, but some of that, a lot of that is kind of aside. Whether or not it's good or not is the big deal. And Master Keaton is, I really love it a lot. If you're a big fan of those kind of crime dramas and those sort of serials like Law and Order, or just kind of that pacing where it moves very slow and there's action, but it's not. But it's more punctuated action that's in very specific points. It never feels shoved in, but there's usually a lot of dialogue to explain and move things along. This is that kind of series. Master Keaton, he's a archaeologist who teaches at a university, and in his off time he's also a insurance adjuster, a insurance investigator. I mean, he gets called in on various cases where they need to either confirm someone's dead or or investigate insurance fraud or something of the like, and they call in Keaton because he's the best at what he does. He was also a former officer who specialized in survival training and also participated in the Falkland Island Wars. He's just an all-around just great guy. And also it would have been easy to just paint him up as this sort of Gary Stu, can do everything right, but they do keep him grounded in this series by having him be a divorcee and also trying to make things work with his daughter, who comes to visit him from time to time, and the stuff that where him and his daughter are interacting with each other, and especially when he's having to interact with his own dad, is just some of the best kind of character drama, where it's never really too serious, but at the same time, you can see how Keaton, even though he's great at all these things, that there are some things in his life that he just can't get to work or can't get to figure out, and that really makes him feel more grounded. That's a really great juxtaposition to the points when he's in these situations where there is no hope, everybody's given up, and he still thinks, no, we've got one more shot. Let's just give it one more shot. I think we've got it this time. That kind of attitude. It's just really great storytelling. If you're already a fan of Naoki Urasawa from Monster or Pluto or 20th Century Boys, this isn't at that level of refinement, but it's still very good, and this is also the series that really put him on the map before any of that, so it's definitely worth checking out. It's got a gorgeous cover design, as you can see from the light it's catching here, that there's this sort of map of the globe printed on the back in this gorgeous little kind of design here, and then even on the front with the gold lettering, and it's just, this is really just out of the park gorgeous cover design and composition. They even put a little bit of color in there for some of the pages. Just go get it. It's worth a buy. Then let's see. Next up, we get last update. I talked about Knights of Sidonia, but here I'll just show off the rest of the series here with volumes 7 through 12, which brings us up to the most current Knights of Sidonia volume, which it feels like Knights of Sidonia is kind of becoming sort of a harem series because no matter what, it seems like Tanizaki he just keeps recruiting more and more girls that wind up living with him, that are all these different kind of backgrounds. Like you've got the one girl who's a Ghana that's been sort of recloned, mixed with human hybrid, and the only time you can see her is when she's kind of like a tentacle. And then you've got this latest girl who's actually a machine, kind of a machine replicant thing, and she otherwise doesn't want to talk or associate with anybody except with Tanakazi. It's just hilarious that he's getting all these, and it doesn't feel contrived. Like it feels like it makes sense and it's natural how it's happening. That he's winding up with all these characters that are slowly kind of becoming his sort of go-to team for his kind of crew that he's working on. And then also there's always the reoccurring Hawkmoth villains that always throw a wrench in things. It's hard to really see kind of where the series is going as far as plot, because again, this is leaps and bounds the longest series that he's written for, and whether or not he's got it all planned out, we'll have to wait and see. But so far, it's excellent world building. It's not nearly as bleak as his other series are. He keeps it more light-hearted, which is why I guess it's gotten more of a mainstream appeal than his other series have. And also his artwork has really jumped a few notches since his last series. And let's see what we got. It's funny. I was reorganizing all of the manga in my room, and I was picking. And sometimes some manga series will just be kind of scattered around, but this is the only time, few times I have ever missed a manga volume, and so I had to get it. That was Slam Dunk number 27. Somehow I guess I just missed that volume when I was getting the series, which I guess explains why I kind of didn't follow some of the stuff happening towards the end of that series. But again, 27 was nearly the end of the series anyway, so I highly doubt that was the main factor in it. But in any case, I mean, I read the volume, and I could follow along pretty well, actually, with kind of the stakes going on. This was kind of the big moment in the final game where Hanamichi was kind of coming around to kind of figure out what he needed to do in the game to win. And when the coach finally explained to Hanamichi that if you can catch the rebounds, that's how we will win this game. And it was just a really great moment. Then next up is Pokémon Adventures Emerald. This is the first volume of the new arc, which I wish it was a regular size digest volume, but maybe they're just doing the same thing they did when they got a Ruby Sapphire. They combined it with the last volume, and they just had to sort of cut this one short a little bit to make it work. But in any case, I really like this volume, especially the fact that Emerald he's in this kind of tournament called the Battle Factory, and what's interesting is that in this Battle Factory, you don't play with your own Pokemon. You actually play with the Pokemon they give you. And every time you beat a new opponent, every time you beat them, you get to swap out one of your Pokemon with one of their Pokemon, and then progress through all the tournament lines. So it's a very different kind of setup, especially for in Pokemon, where normally you would be great training and evolving your Pokemon and sort of fine-tuning them. Here you don't get that option. You just have to think quick, make decision, and move on with how you want to do your battling. And then if your Pokemon doesn't work out, then you're kind of at a disadvantage. You gotta just hope you can power through it. It was really fun. I especially like Emerald's kind of design and look, where he's got these long sleeves on him, which hide these little retractable little claw things when he's fighting. And he also wears these huge platform shoes, so he looks taller. It's just a very bizarre kind of look for him, and especially next volume, which apparently is going to feature Jirachi, which is kind of odd that they're already introducing the Mystic Pokemon that kind of early in the story. So I'm interested. Let's see. Next up, we got it. No matter how I look at it, it's you guys' fault I'm not popular. Volume 5, which again, it's interesting now that she's actually going to sophomore year now. So So there's clearly a ongoing kind of continuity going. So we can expect that the series will wrap up maybe around volume 20 or so. In any case, it's more the same with her just not knowing how to fit in, and especially her pushing more on her brother, trying to get her to try and become more popular. She's actually, I think in this one she actually gets a first friend, or at least she has somebody that she talks to now more than she did before. So that was also kind of funny to see that she's trying to meet people and trying to fit in more this year than last year. Like, she's legitimately convinced that she can turn it around, and especially more at the end, where she develops this sort of personal penalty game where she says, okay, if I talk to such and such people, that's a plus point. If I go a day without talking to people, that's a minus point. And then if somebody talks to me and I keep it going, that's like half a point. Which is funny that of course the only thing she can go on is kind of like a video game logic of rewards and penalties, and she's trying to incorporate that into how she's supposed to talk to people and stuff. And then even at the end, she has to give herself like an ultimate penalty to actually give it some stakes. So I thought that was also hilarious that she's trying to, but the way her brain is working is just not clicking. It's very funny. Then Sunny Volume 4, which again, it's hard for me to tell what actually happens in each volume, except that there's more kind of like this sort of ethereal kind of drama with the kids, and how they're sort of just going through their daily routines, and just whether or not things are going to work out for them is just always up in the air. But again, they're kids, so not only do they not really have a grasp of kind of how things are going to turn out, but they also are trying to rationalize it and guess kind of their own microcosm kind of way. Like they see something really big happening, and then the only thing they can really grab from that is like, oh, so we're not gonna go and eat out tonight because you're not gonna come back and see me anymore because you know it's one of the kids whose parents divorced, I think, or gave them up for adoption, but still kind of sees them every now and again. It's kind of this series where like it's hard to figure out how you're supposed to feel, but it's definitely written to be like you're there with the kids, and you're also trying to figure things out with them about what's going on. Alright, then, last things here. I got these from when I was at sort of a little convention. Some might know it. It's an Animazement. It's kind of a big thing here in the North Carolina East Coast, like southern East Coast kind of area. I got from there the first two volumes of Makoto Kobayashi's Club 9, which this is a series focusing on Haruo Hattori, who she decides after when she finally makes it into college, and so she has to move to the big city, but her big goal is to become a teacher and then move back to her little rural podunk town and teach as a teacher there. But of course she's always struggling with money, but then she finds out that she could become a hostess, where basically it'd be like sort of a bar lounge area where you would be a bar hostess, but the difference would be that the woman would be sitting down having conversation with the patrons to sort of encourage them to have more drinks and such. And so that's essentially kind of how Hostess works in a very generalized fashion. But at first she doesn't want to because she thinks it's kind of lurid, but eventually she gets roped into it and she winds up finding that she's actually good at it, and that she has kind of an insight and this kind of general likability to her that men really dig. But what's also great about this series is you have a lot of that classic Makoto Kobayashi sort of humor, where there's a lot of these great kind of, she's really great with facial expressions, where she just draws these very exaggerated looks on her characters, and I don't really see that often. It's a very distinct kind of art style that I really like a lot. And throughout this series, there's just a lot of great humor gags and sight gags. Same kind of fun from like What's Michael is in here, but of course it's more geared towards like sitcom humor, so it's a little bit different. I wish that they produced more. I think there was only going to be roughly one more volume's worth of this series. But I do know that in the anthology, the comic anthology that it started out of, Super Manga Blast, which Dark Horse put out, if you get those, they actually printed the entire run of Club 9 in those pages, but Super Manga Blast and all of those subsequent titles, they actually fell out before all of it could get collected and reprinted later. So if you really want to get the whole thing, you can get the Super Manga Blast. If I could find it on like eBay or something, I might actually get it just for the rest of Club 9. And then the last thing here, we have the reprinting of Jiro Kawada's classic Batman, or as it's called here, the BatManga. I already had like one release of it, but supposedly they found the rest of the sort of lost BatManga stories, so they're reprinting them all again in 3-volume collections. This is the first volume collection. I can't really tell you what's added here that was left out before. I know there's one story at least featuring a guy called the Human Rubber Ball, which wasn't in the first collection here. Featured here, just a guy who can jump around. He was wearing like this weird kind of polymer on him that allows him to jump around like a human rubber ball. So that's kind of the big appeal with the BatManga series, is that it is more serious in tone than the 60s Adam West Batman, but there's still some goofiness in there. Like you have a guy called Professor Gorilla, who is essentially a super intelligent gorilla that Batman has to fight. Some of them even feel like these are characters that were already in DC that somehow were put in here. Like I don't know which came first, Gorilla Grodd or Professor Gorilla here. I also don't know Go-Go the Magician here, if the Weather Wizard, who was a Flash villain, was already created, or if he just came up with this design before that. Some of that might be interesting to actually look at to find out. But again, the artwork is still very good, great action. If you were ever a big fan of Batman and you just want to see a very unique kind of take on it, but still very faithful to the source material, this is definitely along those lines, with some of the craziness in that series. So I look forward to getting all of that series too. So that's all I got for this month. Check you later.